Need parts now? O'ReillyAuto.com offers in-store pickup, same-day home delivery, or next-day home shipping. Get more parts your way at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Hi, I'm Thomas Senna, co-host of the SNL Hall of Fame podcast.
And I'm Jeremy Dove, co-host of the Bigger Than the Game podcast.
Jeremy and I have joined forces to create a new podcast called Pop Culture 5 to ask the question, what are the 5 essential things about any given pop culture topic?
It could be 5 essential movies by an actor of our choice.
Or 5 essential songs by a musician of our choice.
We're not making a list of our personal favorites, it's the essentials.
And we better do a good job of justifying our essentials because one of us will have veto power each episode.
And I'm ready to tell Thomas why he's wrong.
All right, Jeremy, all right. Well, actually, why don't we give everyone an out-of-context peek at what we've been up to? So Pharrell was right next to me, and we looked at each other, and we were kind of like bobbing our heads. He wasn't wearing his hat. Nobody really knew he was kind of incognito. But I had to do a double take. I'm like, that's Pharrell. And then he looked at me.
You just slipped that in there, this big name drop here. I was next to my man Pharrell. Like, whoa. I never heard this, everyone.
So join us to celebrate and discuss the essentials of pop culture.
Listen and subscribe to Pop Culture 5 wherever you get your podcast.
Hey, it's time to gather around the water cooler to talk the SNL Hall of Fame. Hey, it's JD here, and welcome back to the SNL Hall of Fame. This week, I'm going down to the lunchroom for an episode of the SNL Hall of Fame water cooler, where I'm going to meet my friends Joe and Shari, and we're going to talk all about this week's episode of SNL and the SNL Hall of Fame as well. Plus, we'll get in some conversation about the show as well, I'm sure. This marks a milestone. This is the last episode of the first season of the SNL Hall of Fame Water Cooler podcast, and we'll be back. We've just signed on the dotted lines to come back for season 7. So we will be following every SNL Hall of Fame episode in season 7, the final season of the SNL Hall of Fame, with an SNL Hall of Fame water cooler episode. So there's that. I am now downstairs, walking into the lunchroom. There is Joe and Shari. Joe, how are you doing, my friend?
I am good. Ready to do this, and ready to go with my friends. So, Shari, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, and I'm glugging down some water right now so I can get my talk on.
Nice. Hashtag glug. So today we're talking about Aidy Bryant, somebody who just left the show. She hits the minimum requirement, though. She has left the show. She has been off the show for 2 seasons, so she does make the requirement for the Hall of Fame guidelines. Shari, do you want to recap Monday's Hall of Fame episode featuring Rebecca North talking about Aidy Bryant?
Absolutely. Oh, this was a goodie. It was Thomas. It was the great conversationalist, Mr. Thomas Senna, and the fabulous Rebecca North, who I always enjoy listening to on both the Hall of Fame, where she has nominated Maya Rudolph, done her relitigation because Maya just squeaked in in season 5. Actually, not squeaked in. She did quite well, but she just squeaked in. She was on her 5th season, so yay, Rebecca, for getting Maya in. And now hopefully she's sprinkling some of that magic dust onto Aidy Bryant. And she and Thomas had a really fascinating discussion. First of all, stressing what a huge contribution Aidy made to the update desk. With everything from her little girl travel agent, who Rebecca couldn't remember the name of, and neither can I, even though I've seen her 100 times.
Carrie Crum.
Carrie Crum, who I love because she's from the Midwest. You know me. I've got a soft spot for my Midwesterners. I believe she's from Ohio. And she was talking about one of the Great Lakes in a little bit of the snippet that Thomas played. And it just really took me back because I remember those and always loving them because she's always talking about places that nobody would think to travel to.
Right. Lake Erie, I think she says in it, right?
To visit her cousins. Very, very funny.
Yeah.
And, just Aidy made so many, many, many appearances on the update desk, ending with the trendsetters that she did with Bo and Yang. And that was kind of at the end of her tenure. And just all these memorable characters. They went through several. They couldn't possibly go through all of them, but there are just so many. And then same with the number of sketches she's been in, which is a huge amount. And they went back and forth talking through a number of them. Of course, they couldn't get to all of them, but they really did a nice job of breaking down how great a team player she is, how well she works with others, how she makes the hosts feel comfortable, and that hosts really enjoy working with her, and that even Kim Kardashian heaped the praise on her. And I feel like Kim doesn't do that a lot. And she heaped the praise on Aidy. And so they went very thoroughly through that. And Nicole just kept mentioning how much of a team player Aidy was, how she could be this sweet little nice girl and then turn on a dime and be the not so sweet one. How she could go from the mommy roles to the kind of little baby Aidy bad girl, and just with a flick of her, wrist, just so easily. And she stressed that over and over again, just about how versatile she was and how well liked she was. And of course, they discussed in detail the great relationship she and Kate had, and how they were one of the all-time duos. And Rebecca even called them the best duo of the past 10 years. I think I would probably agree with that.
I can't think of another duo that would come close.
Yeah,
in the last 10 years.
And of course, they discussed the fact that recency seems to hurt, and it kept Kate out. I know, JD, you're always lamenting that Kate isn't in. I think, as I keep saying, I think she's going to get it. She was awfully close. And
she had 60%.
I guess we'll see what Aidy's chances are, because recency seems to be an issue. But Rebecca was and so was Thomas, were very insistent that she absolutely deserves a place in the Hall of Fame. So great episode.
Yeah, I agree. And the one thing that we've heard time and time again, and I made mention of this at the end of the SNL Hall of Fame episode, the one thing we hear about cast members and sometimes hosts as well is that versatility and that willingness to, do anything. And those are hallmarks of a Hall of Famer. So to me, listening to the argument was it's as close to a slam dunk as there should be. Like, I think Lovitz is in for sure, and we'll get to your feelings on that when we do that segment for sure. But it's going to be interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see where she lands. So let's go into our compare and contrast segment. Joe, who in the Hall of Fame already in the Hall of Fame might be somebody who compares for Aidy Bryant's case?
So, yeah, I was looking at the list, and because here's the thing with Aidy, she's a great utility player, does various accents, can play any age, and then just overall has a very relatable persona. And I was trying to think, like, who else has something like that? And I came with Maya Rudolph. And here's why. And the similarities are, they both pair well with others. Obviously Aidy and Kate, paired well, and were able to be in various sketches. And then I was even, thinking, like, would Amy and Tina, would it be that type of relationship? But I think more of the Maya Amy Poehler type of relationship is kind of similar to Aidy and Kate. They pair well with others. And then, obviously, they both, Maya and Aidy, can do well on their own. Just, cut to them. Just doing something, or being the lead in a sketch, So they're able to do their own thing, and then at the same time, pair well. And the other people I was thinking of was, like, Dana Carvey. I almost went that route. But nothing against Aidy, but the reason why I didn't choose Dana is because Dana's good at an impression. And I'm not saying anything about Aidy. I'm just saying that's why I didn't choose Dana. But Maya, on the other hand, even though Maya has been known to do impressions, especially lately this season, I know that's a kind of a bad but still, when I think of Maya's, tenure on the show when she was a cast member, she was able to just be a lead, do something on her own, and then pair well with someone else. And that's something Aidy has, where she's able to work with Kate. So that's why I chose Maya.
Shari, who from the ballot that exists right now that we now know has 38 names on it? The ballot will contain 38 names this year.
Wow.
And you get 15 votes, folks. This is why it's so difficult to get into the SNL Hall of Fame. So who from the ballot that exists right now might have a similar pathway, Shari?
Well, someone that I'm voting for sure, who I think should have gotten in at least a season or two ago, is the fabulous Anna Gasteyer.
Yeah.
I feel like she is so underrated, and I feel like she sort of got overshadowed by some bigger names. I kind of feel the same way about Aidy. I think Aidy got a little bit lost in Kate's shadow. She's definitely come out of it, but she was definitely, she kind of got lost in the shadow of Kate and of Cecily. And I feel like Anna was in the shadow of, I can't exactly remember who else was she in with Jan? I know there were some other really big women on that show.
She wasn't with Jan.
She wasn't with Jan, but there were some big,
Sherry O'Terry and Molly.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
that's right.
Perfect. Yeah, I think
mid-90s.
Sherry and Molly are very big, larger than life.
Yeah.
And Anna was a little more subtle. Yeah. And I feel like Aidy is that way as well. And again, JD, I'm so glad you made the point of how hard it is to pick 15.
I know.
I'm so
I haven't
sad
even started
because
to look.
There's 15 more. Well, I've had my ballot for a while. And I don't want to change it because 4 of them are going to get ousted.
Right.
4 on mine are going to get ousted this season if I don't put them on. And then the rest have been on a while. And I want to keep their percentages up. Even if they don't get on, I want to at least keep them up till next season. So I'm holding off on most of the newbies, figuring that they have definitely more time, because I think the bulk that I want to see are probably going to get back on the ballot in season 7. And what I'm hoping is that some of mine will get in so that I can make way for all these others like Aidy, who I love, to put on my ballot in season 7. So we'll see.
Well, we need to get a few of these guys in there, because otherwise the season 7 ballot is going to be out of control. It'll have another 15 names on it. Oh my gosh. Then we're pushing 50 at that point. So yeah,
it's a good number for Saturday Night Live.
That's a good call. Shari, we'll stick with you, and we'll go through our classic chain rankings.
All right. Well, again, I like to do how I think the voters are going to vote. And I'm going to start from the bottom up, like Joe and I always do. 15, U2. We say it every week. Curse of the Musical Guest. And they're from so long ago, and they haven't been on in a while. Then Jack White, who I think is slightly more known, at number 14. At number 13, the fabulous Alan Zweibel, because like musical guests, writers are doing a little better in the Hall of Fame, but they tend to stumble a lot too. I'm going to have a lot of writers on my ballot, and gosh darn it, I hope some of them get in.
Yeah.
Barkley, again, as Joe always says, great athlete, does his very best hosting, but yeah, I don't think it's going to get him in. DeVito, it's just been too long. If he would come back, I think he'd have a shot, but it's just been too long. Garrett Morris, too many of our casual fans that are listening don't remember. Ditto O'Terry. Piscopo, I think people know because of Eddie, so he might do a little better. So that's 11 DeVito, 10 Morris, 9 O'Terry, 8 Piscopo, and then 7 Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I think is a little more current. 6 Driver, who I think he's going to grow and grow either this season or next season, maybe see him in. But again, it's that recency thing. Is that going to keep him out? Is he too recent?
Totally.
I don't know.
Yep.
And that's Bobby Moynihan. Not quite as recent. I think Bobby's going to do well, but I don't know about getting in. That's number 4. So, I skipped Aidy. I put Aidy at number 5, and I almost forgot her. I'm sorry, Aidy. Number 5, Aidy Bryant. This is where I'm slotting her. And then just above her, Bobby Moynihan. Then 3, so kind of all 3 very more recent cast members. Number 3, Beck Bennett. Number 2, Mr. Odenkirk. I think he's the one writer that's going to get in this year. And finally, I think the no-brainer, I think he's going to get well beyond 66%, is John Lovitz. And that's how I see the voters voting for our new nominees.
Joe, how
Take it
about
away,
you, my
Joe.
friend?
All right. So here's mine. I'm going to go bottom up just for tension. And that's, just tension and tradition.
Right.
Okay. So 15, Jack White. Great guest. Great musical guest, I should say. But, just, and then above, him, U2, who I think is just a slightly better musical guest. It's kind of just hard to compare. It's apples and oranges almost. So then above, U2, Charles Barkley, like Shari said, great host, not really a great actor. Then above Barkley, Danny DeVito, did great in the 80s, but literally hosted the last show of 99, or 80s and 90s, I should say. Hosted the last show of 99, and then that was it. And that was like 25 years ago.
That's a long time ago.
Above him, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, great cast member and, host. But hasn't, is on a good run. And, I don't know. I would put her higher if she came back and did something really memorable. Above her, Adam Driver, same thing. On a great run. And I would put him higher if he came back this season and, did something memorable. He can't, and here's the thing, because the Star Wars trilogy, whatever, is over, he can't rely on Undercover Boss. Maybe it would be funny to do like since the Star Wars trilogy, but that would be kind of a stretch. But it'd be cool if he did something really memorable, with a new cast or something, new cast member. Above Driver, Sherry O'Terry, I always said, came, for 5 years, did really great, and then, left. And then sure she was on the anniversary show, but anniversary shows, but never hosted or cameoed or anything. Above her, that's where I'm putting Aidy Bryant, who didn't, sure she hasn't really had or isn't known for doing characters or doesn't have any memorable. And she is great on Update. She has great Update characters, but nothing in this way of the cheerleaders or church chat. But still, I compared her to Bobby Moynihan in the sense that you might not think of her when you think of Saturday Night Live, but if I went on YouTube and typed in her name, and she's in a lot of various stuff, and she pops up a lot. And like I said, she's either the lead or the straight man or the fall guy. Plays any age, and then also there's a line that is in my head every time. Kind of like it's in my. I love it, and I kind of forgot how much I loved it. Which is her and Kate are doing this bit where they're learning Photoshop and they do it real bad and they're punishing themselves. And she yells out, "We are gonna be slapped!" And so she knows how to deliver a punchline. I just want to make sure she got her So then And then above her, Beck Bennett, who similar cast, but was also able to do pre-tape stuff. Kind of well known for doing pre-tape stuff. And then above Beck, Piscopo for holding down the fort. In that early '80s when things were shaky. And then above Beck, above Piscopo is Levitz, who, by the way, we were talking after the podcast. We were talking in the break room. There's a great, Levitz sketch, Get to Know Me. And I'm not even going to go down the rabbit, about or say anything more about Lovitz other than watch that. That is just one of the many, that's just so many levels of what makes him great is in that 3-minute bit right there. That Get to Know Me. Then above Lovitz, Bobby Moynihan, who had a longer run than Lovitz. That's why I put him higher. Above Moynihan is Odenkirk for being a great writer. It's more like did less but is more memorable. And then Zweibel, because his stuff it was memorable but really set a precedent in the first 5 years. And then above him, Morris, because like I keep saying, he deserves more recognition, and the least we could do is get him in the Hall of Fame. I felt like I was talking the conversation, but then again, I had 15 people to go through, so now water.
Let's go now to segment 4, and that is our closing argument, where we listen to Thomas and Rebecca in this case discuss the closing argument. We're going to travel back in time to do that right now.
So now's the time to kind of like put this in a little nice bow and maybe Cliff's notes it or something. Why should Aidy Bryant get serious consideration? Hint, hint for the people who didn't vote for Kate last year. Mm-hmm. Why should Aidy get serious consideration for the SNL Hall of Fame, Rebecca?
So first of all, Aidy aside, Aidy should be in it because she's a more modern day cast member, and we have to stop hating on them just because they haven't had a whole bunch of years since they've left the show to really prove themselves in media and in society as a staple. She's already kind of done that in her couple of years off. I think Cheryl was very, very successful. Honestly, a lot more successful than I initially thought it would be so soon to her leaving the show. So I think as that, this is not only just for Aidy, this is for all the modern day people who are no longer on the show. So think Cecily, think Kate, do it for them so we don't lose faith in you, the listeners, to vote in people that have left in the past 5 years from the show. But that aside, I think Aidy on the show, initially looking at this, I don't know. I think I kind of convinced myself through this conversation that I was a little unsure. She was something that I personally would want to see, but I'm like, why would other people vote for her? And it's because she was such a staple for so many years in the modern age of the show that was not only dependable, but there's heart in it. And she loved the show and she loved being there and working with it. And more so, she had a good career growth. And I mean, think of it that way. It's not only, she didn't come in at 100, but she came in at 80? And then, wow, that was good. She came in at an 80. And then she made her way up to 100 by the end where she fully came into herself. Her stuff looked different from her first season to her last season. And she's someone that did leave a big hole in the show and in our hearts. So I think you should vote for her to honor her and to really show, hey, Aidy, we appreciated you on the show.
Shari, what did you think about Rebecca's closing argument?
I thought Rebecca did an excellent job of laying out very good reasons. And she starts off with a plea to all of us to put aside our feelings about, they're too recent, because we punished Kate with that. And I have to admit, I'm guilty. I am a little guilty of that. I do want to see later cast members who were from a while ago get in first. And also, I want to vote for people who've been on the ballot longer. So that has something to do with it, too. But Rebecca does make a really good point. Don't let recency impact you. Either way, Role. Go with your gut. And I think she makes a very good argument there.
Joe, how about you?
Yeah, I totally agree with everything she said. I mean, I'm trying to think what to add to it. I mean, yeah, don't let the fact that she's so new distract you. Also, she just is 80 is able just to pop up in anything. So just keep that in mind, So yeah, I just totally agree with, everything, and there isn't one sketch that, she's known for, but that's the thing. It's like, instead of like being known for you know, search chat or, Night the Roxbury or something, it's more like her talent was like divvied up into many, 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 many sketches, so she's able to just to pop up at the end, or do a thing on update. So
you also have to consider that she was a cast member during a time where they just did not do reoccurring sketches. Like, it was few and far between. So,
True.
A lot of these people, other than Kate with the alien abduction sketches, Science Room, there hasn't really been a ton of sketches that, that allow for somebody to develop a character that is
right.
memorable, except for the Weekend Update desk, and she did that.
Yeah. We're going back. We're going back to those reoccurring situations now, though.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I
Just
feel
starting.
about that.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I'm going to surprise you guys here because I have a new segment that we're going to launch for the final episode of season 6, and we'll also do this in season 7. I want a prediction. I want you guys to predict what percentage of vote Aidy Bryant will get.
Ooh, I like it.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't have to explain it. Just give me the number.
I can go first.
Okay.
I think she's going to get right around 45 to 50%.
Interesting. Okay. Joe?
I'm going to say, now I know you said that to explain it, so I'm not going to explain my explanation. So I'm just going to say 15. I'm going to say a little bit lower because there's so many people on the ballot.
Interesting.
So,
wow.
It's like, it's a competitive market. So
it is. I guess that would be similar to what Anna Gasteyer got, which lends credence to Shari's theory about Anna Gasteyer being an avatar sort of for 80. We'll see. We will see. In 3 short weeks, we will find out who the class of season 6 is. Voting opens December 2nd at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and it closes December 13th at midnight Eastern Time. So make sure to get cracking. Now we're going to cover something that we didn't cover last week, which is the November 16th episode of SNL featuring Charlie XCX doing double duty. Joe, what is your Hall of Fame moment for that episode?
Okay, well, going in, I'm going to say I thought the whole show was great. All right. The show before, what was it, Bill Burr? Was that the one? Kind of weak. I thought premises were repeated and such like that. And then we were going to, like, I remember even we were thinking the next one's going to be a musical guest or like a musical performer doing double duty. So that's risky. Whereas we have an actor or a comedic actor, that's more of a safe bet. And then but Charlie XCX, no, she did it. I thought she did great. And how about this? When I was trying to pick a specific one, I just wanted to remind myself to mention that the whole last quarter definitely after Update, maybe even after her second musical performance, was really great. Like the Thanksgiving one, and but the one I'm picking is Shrek. Because I just thought that was such a goofy premise, so well performed, not just by like by everyone in it. So I thought she was great. And by the way, saying XEX sounds like we're spelling a dirty word. Wink, wink. It sounds naughty.
Oh my.
Just saying.
Oh my.
But yeah, Shrek.
All right. Shari, how about you?
Oh my. Joe and I don't disagree that often, but this was not my favorite. I really didn't like the Bill Burr either, and this kind of my expectations were pretty low. I do agree with Joe, and I know before the podcast, JD was saying that he thought she did quite well. And I agree. She did do much better than Dua Lipa last season.
Yes.
But I don't know. These premises, I felt like there was a lot of retreading of premises, things that I've seen a lot as a big fan over the years and not enough snap in them. So I was kind of disappointed. The only thing that I can really rave about was the digital short. And that's a retread, right? I mean, but I feel like it was something fresh. Andy did some fresh things here. The look of it was amazing.
Yeah.
The one where he's called narking on people for minor indiscretions, like putting their garbage in his garbage can. And the Colin reveal where Colin takes off the hoodie and the dog getting the handcuffs. I mean, very, very clever. And it just goes to show you, as I Lonely Island deserves to be in there. I feel really guilty that I didn't help get them in there. Shame on me. And boy, they were incredible. And this just proves that Andy has not lost his magical touch. He really just knows how to do it. And Charlie is very good in it with him. So that one I do feel was a Hall of Famer, but everything else sort of uneven and a little disappointing.
Well, we'll stick with you, Negative Nelly, and we'll hear your Hall of Shame moment.
Oh boy, I know I feel so bad when I'm the negative one, but well, I have two things that I'm just going to talk about really quickly. I kind of already said, I just think they're looking to the internet too much with things like Domingo, and even with Lisa. And I know Joe said that they aren't like stressing it too much, but they actually did 3 Lisa from Temecula's Bing Bang Boo. And now they've kind of forgotten about her and they've moved on to Domingo. It's whatever's hitting on the internet. And I'm getting that's getting tiresome. I know they want young viewers, but there's got to be a better way. So that's my feelings on that. And then double duty hosts. Kind of like how I feel about stand-up comedians. We don't need so many. I mean, one or two double duty hosts. On the SNN By the Numbers show this week, which had Mike Murray, of course, Bill Kenny, and our very own Thomas Senna, really had a great discussion about musical guests doing double duty. I really highly recommend checking it out on YouTube. But they really did discuss it and the fact that you got to use it sparingly. So that would be my advice to SNL if they're listening.
Oh, of course they are. Come on. Lauren was the first subscriber, I'm sure. Joe, how about your Hall of Shame moment?
Dude, the thing is for podcast, it's like NPR, but then again, young people are listening to it. Okay, so my con. Now here's the funny thing. I literally went down the list of trying to pick one because I like the show and I was looking at the update characters and everything. And ironically, the one I picked was the Thanksgiving what was it? The Thanksgiving championship, the fashion one. And that was only because I forgot they did it. I liked it. You know, it was in the part of the show that I liked, but I forgot, so it's kind of just like it's regrettable. Now, here's another, I guess, con, because I always list it as pro con, not really Hall of Fame, or whatever. I just put, for whatever reason, the way my brain works, I just put pro and con. But another con I wanted to put, and I'm sure this is just unintentional process of elimination. There was a couple cut for time sketches. One was the Canadian one, which Charlie was amazing in. She adapted well. She's a musical. The whole premise is the news team is overly putting a French accent on this, on Canadian names that don't have, French, names. So it'd be like Joe Gannon. Joe, so, and I'm like, and she adapted too well, and I'm like, all right. And then the other, but that's not even the one I wanted to bring up. The one I wanted to bring up was the Please Don't Destroy pre-tape video, which, it was great writing, and she played herself and whatever, but it was kind of like, I feel like they didn't include it because they had the Andy Samberg, the SNL digital short. So it's kind of like, well, we can't have 2 digital shorts. What is this? The Dick Ebersol era? Am I right? But no, to answer the question, the Thanksgiving one, and that's only because I forgot they did it.
Yeah, I don't remember it either. So it just goes to show you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we've got for you this week, folks, in the SNL lunchroom. Next week, well, there is no next week. Because next week on the SNL Hall of Fame, we're doing our annual Pardo episode, and that occurs at the same time that voting opens. The week following is our roundtable episode, and then the Friday following the roundtable episode, we close voting, and on the following Monday, we make the announcement of the class of season 6. So we hope you're there with us through all of it. Joe and Shari and I will be around for sure. Maybe we'll even make an appearance on the finale, and we'll get to put in our 2 cents about who makes it and who doesn't make it at that point. But that's what I've got for you. Goodbye from Joe and Shari. I want to thank you all for taking some time out of your lunch and joining me today. And make sure to subscribe, rate, and review the pod. And of course, stay thirsty. Thanks for listening to the SNL Hall of Fame Water Cooler. To connect with Joe and Shari, join our Facebook group at facebook.com/group/SNLHOF. To email the cast, write to snlhofwc@gmail.com. Please subscribe, share, rate, and review the show wherever you get your podcasts. To podcasts and such.
Shop limited time deals on last minute gifts now at Lowe's. Save $50 on a Werner 6-foot aluminum stepladder. Was $89, now just $39. Plus, get your choice of select Craftsman V20 tools for only $39. And save time and money with free shipping on orders of $45 or more. Because Lowe's knows deals. Offers valid 12/5 through 12/11. While supplies last. Selection varies by location. Free standard shipping not available in Alaska and Hawaii.